Welcome, everyone. I am here to announce that I'm going to be thinking of starting a series where I will interview as much Daybreak content creators as there are right now. So, if you guys enjoy this, I will continue making this into a series. I'll do my best to get in contact with every single Daybreak content creator there is as of now, and maybe trying to get an interview, maybe like weeks or days later. I'll do my best. But if you guys enjoy this, please let me know down in the comments. Give me some suggestions if you have any Daybreak content creators I can try and get in contact with slash interview. But yeah, no, I'm doing this so that, I want to see how people feel about the game and how they're enjoying the game right now and what made them into it and basically and to also just ask them what made them get into Daybreak as a whole and why make content on it. But anyways, I hope you guys enjoy this, and like I said, if you guys want to see more, I'll make it into a series. Alright? Hope you guys enjoy the video. First person we're gonna start off with is Zinnie, of course, as you all know, who is very, very well known for their two most popular rant videos, especially the one that's came out a couple weeks ago, I think, or a couple days ago, I don't know. Oh yeah, no, the one with where they ranted about Void not getting any buffs. And as of now, they released a patch where literally she got a buff. But we'll talk about that in this interview also. But yeah, hope you guys enjoy. All right, peace out. Welcome everybody to the first installment of this series that I'm hoping really does well, and I will continue to do it even if it doesn't do as well. But anyways, today we have a very, very special guest, Zinnie. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Okay. Hello, my name is Zinnie. I'm sure most may or may not know me, but of course I run the Zinnie YouTube channel. And I have a Discord server. You guys should join that. And I'm the best Empress player to ever touch the earth.
All right. That is great to hear. Now, I'm going to ask you a couple of introduction questions. Are you ready to answer them, actually?
Yes, I am. I'm ready to answer them.
All right. So, how did you find Daybreak anyways?
Okay, so I found Daybreak through whenever it was back during middle school. I pretty much was like, oh, I'm a broke boy and I want to play Dead by Daylight, but I don't have that. And I just randomly one day came across Daybreak, wasn't even searching for it. And so me and Winnie started playing it a lot. Like after school, we would just come home and we'd start playing it. And that's kind of like how I found it out, to be honest.
Okay, all right. So then, what got you into Daybreak, actually?
So what got me into Daybreak was, again, I guess I basically said it was like Dead by Daylight, and at the time I wanted to play it, but I didn't have the money and all that for it because I didn't have a job and all that. But also what really got me more into it was the lore of like all the characters having lore, and like me being able to feel like I could connect with some characters, whether it be like I'm connecting with them through their lore or just connecting with them through like the things that they went through. That's really what I liked about it. Also, I found my joy for asymmetrical horror games after this game.
Interesting. A lot of people enjoy this game for the lore, voice lines, and a lot of things. I will notice a lot of people, and that's what got them into the game. And it seems like that was the case for you. The lore, the gameplay, the voice lines, all that stuff. Now, what made you want to create Daybreak content as a whole?
So what made me want to actually start creating it was I, for the longest with my friends, was always talking about how we should just start a YouTube channel and all that. So, I was just like, you know what? I'm going to start off with a smaller community and see how I could even fare in there at first and see how enjoyable I'd be. And, lo and behold, I started it out and I was moving slow at first, but after I made my guide video on Empress and then just started playing the game after that, a lot of people seem to enjoy, me and all that. So that's what I was like, I was like, oh, I want to keep doing this because I want to build a community, not specifically the Daybreaks community as a whole, but I wanted to build a community in general. So me playing this game was good because I enjoyed it. And so if I'm playing something I enjoy around people that also enjoy the same thing, I was like, yeah, that's what got me into it. Also, I'm not gonna lie, it was ancient a little bit because I saw his videos and I was like, you know what, I can do it. If he can talk like this, I can talk like that. And I'll make it.
Funny enough, next question I was actually about to ask was there anybody, like any person or YouTuber that inspired you to start making Daybreak content? And I think you just said your answer already, but if you want to say it again, you may say it.
Yeah, it was primarily the ancient one, primarily. And then aside from that, it was just the fact that other people made it was the real thing. But, ancient and Zam, I didn't really know Zam as much, but I did see their videos here and there. So I saw those two and I was like, okay, well, these quite literally are the big, two of Daybreak. And I was like, you know what? I want to do it. And also, what also did get me to make it too was the collab video. I saw that collab video and I was like, you know what? This is something I want to do.
All right. That is great to hear that you actually have some inspiration and also that you very much enjoyed Daybreak with a lot of other people as well. Now, we are going to start off into the main topic questions now. So, how do you feel as of now about Daybreak 2 as of this recording? I'm actually going to say.
Okay. How I feel about it as of now is I feel like the game is like it lacks its ability to keep players. That's what I feel this game is that it struggles to keep new players. And we've gone through this multiple times, and Brenda even mentioned it in the Discord server that she's never going to make one of those interactive tutorials because it's a waste of time and all that. But I, again, feel like that's just the current state, is that it lacks a way to keep players, in, whether if it's being hard or not. I personally do still feel like there should be servers based on if like your level and all that. I really do. But right now, my main thoughts is just that it struggles to keep players. That's like, if I had to sum everything I set up, struggles to keep players.
So when you say you think there should be servers where based on level, do you mean something along the lines of like skill-based matchmaking, where it's like depending on your skill, you get put in with people who are on your skill level? Or
I don't necessarily say skill-based matchmaking. I would say put players who are from like level 1 up to like level like maybe 500 in the same servers, and then put people who are like level 1,000 and up in the same servers. Because I feel like a big thing again when it comes to new players is it's like, yeah, a lot of people are like, yeah, it takes time to learn, but you can't learn from your mistakes from people who are too high out of your skill ceiling, is a big thing that a lot of people don't acknowledge. You can learn from your mistakes, but if someone is just like way out of your league, there's not much you can learn at all from being in chase with them or any of that extra stuff. That's what I think.
That's a pretty valid, solid reason. In my opinion, I do think that there should be more to help the newer players out, because right now a lot of newer players are getting turned away, especially as killers. Newer player killers are getting turned away because of how many issues there are and the amount of infinite and all that stuff that's into the game, and it kind of deters people from just playing the game as a whole sometimes, depending on how the situation is, or how the game goes.
Yeah.
So I do agree with
Go
you
ahead.
on that. No, I do agree with you on that part. Although I wouldn't know how that would work long term. I do think maybe it's a good idea, but I don't know.
I would say maybe lower the level in which it happens, because again, game only averages like 400 to 500 players. But I feel like maybe I still feel like she should just make that interactive tutorial regardless, but it's just not gonna happen.
All right. That's great to hear. I'm glad you have a very, very positive opinion about that and what they should do to make it better. Now, I'll ask you this. What unique thing has made you choose Daybreak as a main game and has surprised you about the game?
That the game was a smaller community, and I felt like I could, learn. I felt like if I put time and effort into this game, I could be, pretty good at it, whether it be a survivor or not. So really what I wanted to do, what like was unique enough to me and kept me here, was the fact that, learning the game was fun at the end of the day, you know.
Right, exactly. And that's how I fell in love with the game too. I came from actually an FPS game, but before that, I actually played a lot of Dead by Daylight. I put a lot of time into it. I played it for like 2-3 years, and then I stopped playing because I got bored of it. And
Yeah.
then, we're here now where it's like I come back, I play Roblox because I find really fun Roblox games sometimes. And, you know, what do you know? I am looking for horror games, and Daybreak pops up. And I'm like, oh, okay, interesting, right? Play it,
Yeah.
realize it has a similar play style to Dead by Daylight, and I'm like, oh, this game seems chill and fun. Oh, there's a lot of characters and this and that. And so ever since then, now I've been enjoying the game. I have been posting a lot. It's been really fun. It's been a fun experience, and overall, to me, it was a very cool thing to see on Roblox, especially because
Yeah.
there's not a lot of good asymmetrical horror games on Roblox as of now, other than Survive the Night. But I don't think anyone really plays that. I'll be honest. But
I also will want to say too is that I did get enjoyment out of, my voice being heard, because since it's a smaller community, it gave me more chances that if I tried and actually put effort into what I was doing, that I could, help people, which is, enjoyment that I got out of it. I liked helping people out with playing Empress back when she was considered one of the more harder killers in the game to play. And same thing went for Void Skulk. I enjoyed, putting my information on other people because I wanted to see more people succeed like me, which is another thing that did keep me here too.
interesting. All right then. So next thing I actually want to ask is, what do you think makes you iconic when it comes to Daybreak, and why do you think people enjoy that the most about you?
I feel like what makes me specifically iconic is that you don't see, the average person going around making, commentary videos in here, which I'm not saying that the commentary is what's making me unique. I'm saying it's the commentary that I do that makes me unique, that I feel like a lot of people grasped and liked. And I do feel like people love to see those little moments where I do have, my little rage moments, especially, for example, my rant videos. A lot of people seem to like my points, but also enjoyed the way that I was putting out my information and speaking my points. I know that that's something that a lot of people did enjoy. So I personally think that that's just what made me unique, was my voice in itself. And, I typically don't even like my voice. I struggle to even watch my own videos sometimes. But
That's wild.
I feel like that's what made me unique, was just my voice. Genuinely, that's literally it.
Yeah, no, you're right. I actually want to talk about this. So, your two most iconic videos that I'm sure is, you have the Void Skulk one from 2 months ago, and then you
Mm-hmm.
have the second one about Void Skulk that was 2 weeks ago. So, you know, you're not wrong when you say that, you're like iconic for when it comes to speaking out about certain things, when it comes to what killer deserves nerfs, what killer deserves buffs, and whatnot. So, my question to you is, what other killers do you think deserve more attention than they do right now?
More the biggest, my biggest two are going to always be Apostate and Unforgotten. And well, I said biggest two, but it's really three. I want to say Banshee, but I leave Banshee out since she's getting changes and we don't know what that's like. So my biggest two, yes, are Unforgotten and Apostate. Like literally, I feel like they have so much potential. Unforgotten is so much fun, but just struggles. Just it does, like one of the more weaker killers, and the same thing goes for Apostate. The skill that comes with her could be good if she was good, you know.
Right, exactly. Now, what do you think they need to buff slash nerf about those killers that you have that deserve more attention?
Unforgotten, I really feel like if they're not going to buff the slowdown, I feel personally, I think what they could do for Unforgotten is make Unforgotten like they were previously with their slow with the imaginary friends, where the slow was in a smaller range, but it was a lot more heavier on it. Or another thing I feel that they could do is, revert the nerf that they gave Unforgotten a long time ago, back when they actually went public to, and I mean free to play Daybreak 2 for the first time. Because what happened was is that newer players weren't, experienced enough, didn't really understand the killers, and so then, people made the suggestions that they should just change that. But, I really don't feel like, again, if you guys want these people to learn as much as you do so badly, and want to make some of these changes to help the newer players, why did y'all feed into what they wanted then during that time? Because you changed the entire purpose of that killer. You're supposed to become unforgotten, unnoticeable.
Exactly.
And even then, you could just type in the chat. I mean, most people did make changes too, which I also kind of liked, where you get silenced so you can't type in chat, but who knows how broken that might be. We never know, because everyone thought Void would be broken after the changes, but look at where we're at now.
Right, exactly. And I do agree. I don't know why they did some changes to the Unforgotten to where now you see their bleed out. Like, the most simple thing you literally have to do is type in chat where you are. That was it. That was the biggest counter. That was it.
Yeah.
Team chat is there for a reason. Use it. Unless you're on console, which that... that's
not gonna lie, yeah.
That's another thing, though. You can't forget, this game's also on console, therefore it is harder. You can't even type in chat. So, now that I think about it now, it does kind of make sense now. But, nonetheless, I do think that some of the killers did deserve some nerfs and some buffs, but also, like you said, it made no sense.
Yeah.
Anyways.
And
I'll
go ahead.
Continue. What were you going to say?
Okay. Apostate, on the other hand, too, though, it's necessarily a killer that I feel like Apostate's the only killer really where if you gave me like an option to like nerf or buff them and I had to tell you what to change, I honestly couldn't tell you, because she's like in really weird waters where you could change something, but that simple change could completely destroy her or completely, overpower her. I personally feel like the Overgrown had the better ability but had the weaker passive, while Apostate had the better passive but the weaker ability. But who knows? I feel like they could change it, or they could make it to where when you're in the bubble you rack up the stacks, but it doesn't change the fact that her chase is still pretty slow.
Yeah, you're right, because right now she is in a state where to newer players they might see and look at her and be like, this character is overpowered. But then to experienced players, they're like, this character needs a buff because they're weak in chase, their ability is not that good, you can just outrun it, this and that. But like I said, it's hard, like you said though, it is hard to balance a character based on like their ability and whatnot, because their passive is salvation, which obviously, if you get to have max stacks, you instantly die. And a lot of newer players don't know that, and so when they realize they just die, they're like, how did I just die, and then they learn how the killer works, and then they're like, this character seems broken. But over time they realize, oh wait, no, this character is just weak because this and that. But I agree, they really deserve, Apostate really deserves more attention, and she is in very tricky waters, so I will agree with you on that one. Next question, though, I have to ask you is, what made you want to choose Empress first before you chose Void Skull, actually?
So when coming to Empress, the thing is that I didn't. I'm gonna be honest. I didn't know Empress was coming into the game until after I main Void Sculpt. But when I saw Empress's design, I was like, yes. Like, that's what dragged me in, was her design. I was like, yes, I want to main her. I want to be the best at her. I want to do all that stuff. Like, I spent 10 hours in the PTS just learning her.
Dang, 10 hours.
Yeah.
That's crazy. That's wild. Now, another thing I want to talk about is, before, Empress got her buff, how did you feel about her pre-buff, actually?
How I felt about her is because wait, we talking about like after the PTS, right?
After the PTS, yes.
Okay. So how I felt about her, what I liked about her was I felt like I was actually like I felt better than most people, because went back during before she got her changes, Empress was by far one of the hardest killers. I mean, Ancient thought that she was, unusable. She was just not good. But I felt like if she was just in that area where if you don't sit down and learn her, then she's gonna seem pretty bad. Because her dash management was serious. Because you're slow on that charge was something. So how I felt playing her was I felt good knowing that I was playing a killer that a lot of people struggled with, but at the best, but like better. And there were brief times where I was acknowledged for how good my Empress games were. Even Ancient himself had to acknowledge it when he going against me for the first time ever, which, I felt pretty good about.
That's good. No, that's really good. With the buffs they gave her then afterwards, because a lot of people in the community were like, oh my god, this kill is the worst, here, this and that. And I did not play as much around when Empress came out, so I didn't know what it was. And I do remember when she released, it was very, very easy to just dodge that dash. I was like, oh my god, the startup was slow. But I'm glad she's in a much better state now. No one's complaining as much as before, how weak she was. Now she's in a very strong position, and in probably, the top 5 killer position, in my opinion.
Yeah.
But now let's move on to what made you want to choose Void as your main killer afterwards.
So the thing was, what made me want to pick Void is because she helped me with everything that I lacked. Because I played during Daybreak 1 and then stopped after a while, primarily because of update reasons. And then when I found out, like, way later on, like, I'm pretty sure it was like maybe 2 weeks before it was going to become free, that they were adding that, I looked in, one of the channels and I saw what Void could do and all that stuff. And I was like, because I was pretty bad at killer coming back. Because most people who bought the, paid access were already people who enjoyed and were really good at the game. So when I found out that she was good she helped me keep track of gens, helped, slow gens down, do all that stuff. I felt like she was going to take a lot of mental power, but it's not something that I wasn't used to before, because what I'm not known for it, but what I'd say I know myself for is I play hard characters in all games 90% of the time. And that's what's helped my mental get great at when it comes to playing these. Because honestly, yeah, she felt like playing chess back when she first released. And I performed really well with her whenever she first released, which I was like, wow, I'm getting better. And so she was the whole way up for most of my killer games. Me learning killer was all because of her, and she helped me. I felt she was difficult for most people, but I already had, the knowledge to play her. I sat down and learned.
Interesting. Wow. That's very, very good to hear, I remember when I was first playing killer, I remember that I was enjoying Slasher the most. And at the time, they were really fun to play. And then when I heard about, when someone recommended me Void, I looked at their ability, I looked at their passive, and I was like, I don't know, Chief. This doesn't
Right.
seem like my type of play style. And so I, till this day, have zero, and I mean zero games played with Void Skull. I will screenshot it also if I have to. But anyways, yes, I respect you for playing Void at the time of her being very weak. And speaking of which, we're going to talk about what has recently been happening with the recent patch notes, and I'm going to ask you, how do you feel about the recent Void Skulk buffs that they gave to her?
So I played Void Skulk recently, and at first I was like, oh, I don't know if the volt speed really was necessary. But when I sat down and played, especially when I played against Milo and my friend Scarlet, so actually good people and know how to loot, I noticed that she wasn't extremely oppressive in chase, but she was better at chase and could do that now. So after like playing her, I was like, okay, well, these changes were all warranted, and I told you so.
Right. Yeah, no, they definitely were warranted. Now, as of now, the community is divided like 50-50. You got people on one side saying it didn't really need the buffs, she was fine as is, or that the buffs was too much. And then on the other side, you have people advocating, be like, oh, these buffs are good, she's better, she's much more better in chase now than before. And so right now the community is just up in roars right now about Void Skull as of now, I feel like. And in my opinion, I feel that she's in a better spot than she was before, and she's slightly much stronger now than before in chase wise, and hopefully they will continue monitoring her, and I don't know, hopefully they continue with maybe giving her more buffs, maybe some nerfs, I don't know yet. I feel that she's fine, but I know people are gonna start complaining probably, and hopefully, I hope if they do nerf her, it won't be so severe to where she goes back to being weak again. So
Yeah, because if it turns out like after more games, if it turns out that she really isn't that broken and that this did make her better, I'm not gonna lie, they might have to start listening to specific people more often and not just people who just blatantly throw out stuff because they do or don't like a killer.
And that leads me to my next question. How do you feel about the community as of now? The Daybreak community as a whole, basically.
How I feel about them as a whole is I never was around any of the drama stuff, so I have no real like stuff to say on that. But I do have stuff to say on people who continuously try and make changes and either don't play a specific killer or have gone against a specific killer or just aren't good or haven't learned the counters. Because for example, this is just going to be an example. You can't say that Slash is broken because he can snipe you from all the way across the map when all you have to do is just move out the way. Like, that's the counterplay, but you don't know that counterplay, so you think that they're broken. You get what I'm saying?
Oh, I get what you're saying. I've had people in matches be like, this killer needs a nerf because why can they, throw a knife from so far away? That doesn't make sense. I'm here like...
So I feel like that the community oppresses Brenda a little bit too much. And personally, I'm not even being a hypocrite because I made 2 videos acknowledging the weaknesses of a killer. I never once attacked the developers or even forcefully was trying to tell them, do this, do this, do this, do this. I was mentioning ideas that could be brought up. Now, I will say that the Voice Scope Mafia was going crazy in the suggestions channel.
Voice Scope Mafia.
Yeah, like the buffs that they wanted. And I'm not gonna lie, and the people who didn't want the changes, I'm sorry, but you were going to be overvoiced by them. And I feel like what happened is that Brenda acted on annoyance instead of acting on actual thoughts. But it still worked out in the end. So I feel like the community just oppresses Brenda a little bit too much and needs to like slow down and just, learn to take no as no. I learned to take it, but then I got my yes. So it was all good in the end.
Right, I agree with that. I've not looked at the feedback channel at all when it comes to Daybreak on the Discord because I'm afraid of what I'm going to read is going to be either make me want to not read the channel or basically ever again, or make me want to be like, why? Like, why do you want
Yeah,
these changes and why does this need a nerf? Like, what? That makes no
literally.
sense. So I never look at the feedbacks and suggestion channel, nor do I leave feedback because I know I'm either gonna get dogpiled on or people are gonna be like, oh, actually, you don't know this much about that, so therefore you can't say this. Like, no, that's not what it is. So I don't delve into that whole feedback because I know there's people there that will absolutely massacre you for your takes and opinions there. So
Yeah,
it's
and that's
wild.
another thing too. Is like that people, instead of actually trying to come up with counterclaims to someone else's points, will just sit there and say you are just dumb, you are like, you got problems and you need to go solve them, when all you have to do is make your counter arguments. I feel like when I made my 2 rant videos, people struggled. No one was really making counterclaims. Like, there was a couple people who made counterclaims here and there, but I had claims to back it up. I just feel like, honestly, like, I hate to say it, but like, you should probably, if you're going to suggest changes, you need to be able to debate your changes. And if you're going to make counterclaims on someone's changes, you need to be able to debate why those changes don't need to happen or just wouldn't work.
Right, exactly. That's how it should be, but seeing how Daybreak is right now and how people are, it is quite literally hard for that to be a thing sometimes. So,
Yeah.
unfortunate there. But anyways, moving on from a little bit of Daybreak, what other games have you been enjoying other than Daybreak so far when it comes to like, Roblox or outside of Roblox?
So, um, so I'll start with on Roblox. On Roblox, mainly aside from Daybreak, I just play anything that comes to mind, like horror games and all that. But I do play fighting here and there. That's a really good one that I like to play. And whenever I can get time to do it, I do play. I do like to play Trepidation as well. Another good asymmetrical horror game with a developer who's pretty active with the community. Is that too?
That is true.
Um, I also now, but Roblox really kind of slows down when it comes to like options of games to play, unless I'm playing on my stream. So now, outside of Roblox, games that I like to play on there's tons. Like, I play Splatoon 3. I have been also getting into Genshin Impact as well, which was a game I thought, oh, this is a weird community, I'll never like it. But I mean, don't associate the community with the game. Like, I made that mistake and I played a game that I actually found out that I really enjoyed playing. Um, I play. Let me, Lord. I mainly, those are the big ones that I play. I also have played Ori or Orin. I forgot how to pronounce the name, but it's a platformer. I love platformers. I love them. I play most of all platformers that come to my mind. I love them just so much. Whether it be like survival platform games or just an actual like platform story game, like, I love platformers. So you will always catch me playing that. I also do play Overwatch too. Um, Sometimes they've been a little bit on my nerves lately, but yeah.
I used to play Overwatch 2, but I can't stop playing. Before it was called 2 actually, when it was just called Overwatch.
Yeah, I played that one too. I enjoyed it as well.
But yeah, no, that is very great to hear all your thoughts, all your opinions about how the game is, what you've been doing outside of Daybreak, and how you feel about the game as a whole. So, to end this off, I'm gonna ask you: do you believe Daybreak is in a better state than it was before now with the most recent changes? Yes or no?
With the most recent changes, absolutely. I feel like these changes are good, and I'm glad that Brenda is actually, though, listening to us and putting forth the effort to make some of these killers better. Because I hope after these changes, she comes to the realization that a killer doing better in chase, or actually doing better at what they're supposed to do, actually is what helps them succeed. We saw it with Android. Android went from being low tier to immediate like A B tier, in my opinion. And we're probably going to be seeing that with Void Skulk here soon as well. So most I could say is the after the changes, it gives me hope that some of these other killers will get their time to shine eventually.
Right. Yeah. No, I do agree. It's slightly getting better in my opinion. I hope it continues going into the right direction. Um, Although there's some things that still need work. Like maps and loops and whatnot. But I hope that they continue with uh, updating the game more and still have that motivation to continue and just providing as much support to the game as possible. Because a lot of us people who play and make videos on this game enjoy the game as much as other people do, and
Right.
we understand that there's flaws, there's jankiness to the game, and certain things should not be a thing, and certain abilities shouldn't work like this. And honestly, with the way it is now, I could not complain. I'm kind of okay with it. So for me personally, I do think it's in a slightly better state than it was before it,
Yeah.
all that stuff. But yeah, no, to end this off now, is there anything you want to say? Anything you want to finish off by saying that you think should be said?
One thing that I do want to say is I feel like this game could benefit a lot more if the developers just experiment with their game. Yeah, like that's what keeps the game healthy is you experimenting with it. But I know they're never gonna see this. So for any of the rest of you guys that are watching this, I mean, if you want to, you can help advocate it, but tell them that they don't need to be scared to experiment. I guess Brenda is more scared to do it because of like how often she releases updates. So I feel like she definitely could release, certain balance changes updates a little bit more often. But I get why she hasn't been doing it recently, and that's primarily because she wants to focus on like the chapter, the new killer especially coming out soon. So, but I feel like release the updates a little bit more often and experiment with a change. Like this voice sculpt change, for example, is practically an experiment, and we'll get to see where this goes.
Right, exactly. And I do, like you said, hope that they experiment more with other things and, like you said, start testing their game more, because that's what keeps a game alive. Testing a lot of new
Exactly.
things and making sure that people enjoy it. If they enjoy it, they enjoy it. If people hate it, then take it out. Right? Simple as that. It's your game. You can do whatever. That's
Right.
obvious. But yeah, that is actually going to conclude this interview. Would you like to say anything? Would you like to say, your channel, whatnot, promote it? Go for it. Don't care.
Alrighty. Okay. Again, I'm Zinnie. Hopefully, if you haven't seen me, you know me now and know a little bit more about me. As well as I do have a Discord server.
Which I will link in the description below.
Okay. Thank you. Support. You should definitely check that out and join it. I have a pretty interesting community, I will say though. So, but I love them all. As well as support my man here, Prekeeper. Go ahead, because this was really fun and it was nice to just sit down and talk for once. And yeah, bye.